Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Breaking Through, the Alina Obervian podcast. I am so excited to introduce you guys to Karin Hadadan. She's a writer, she's an author, and a content creator, and someone I have been a huge fan of for many, many months. She's in town from New Jersey, and she was so gracious to come on this podcast to talk about her new book, The Unlimited Power Within You. This book was inspired by her own spiritual awakening during her healing journey of chronic illness. As she explained, she knew the suffering she was experiencing was for a much deeper purpose. In this episode, we dive deep into the book, touching on certain concepts. The Unlimited Power Within You is a journey inward, understanding what true surrender is, what it looks and feels like, what divine timing is, and how it works, how to understand your intuition, and how to use it as your greatest compass. Karin, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so excited.
How long have we been talking about this? Since last year?
Oh my God, since last year.
Oh my gosh. I've been waiting for your book because I started following you on social media. And there are a lot of people that post motivational quotes or, things that are beautiful, but very rarely do you get really invested in someone's story. And I feel like over the last few months, I've gotten so invested in your writing. Couldn't wait for your book to come out. Bought it myself, started reading it. I can't put it down.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's
and thank
so
you for
good.
saying my story, because that's what I've discovered is what my mission here is. Like, my soul's mission is to tell my story authentically and truthfully and all sides of it. And I think that's what lands in people's hearts. So even just your word choice right there really resonated. So thank you so much.
Of course. And it is your story. And I think our unique story is what propels us to do this work, gives us purpose, and in a way kind of just lights us up from within. And I feel that. I think when it's authentic and it's real, it's palpable.
Totally.
So tell us about your story. Take us kind of to the very beginning. Who are you? Where'd you come from? You're not from LA, so I appreciate you being in town for this. But walk us through the very beginning. What inspired this book so that we can properly get into it?
I mean, there's a whole story behind it. I'll try to give the short-ish version without losing the essence of it. But I born and raised in New Jersey, first generation American. I'm Armenian, as you are.
Yes.
And both of my parents came from Turkey, had a beautiful childhood filled with so much unconditional love and support, and family was the core value that I grew up on, and I'm so grateful for that. And I had an amazing upbringing. Armenian culture was so deeply rooted into that, and that's a huge part of my identity. And especially now, I'm embracing that even more, which I can get into later. But
well, LA is the place for it. We have a lot of Armenians here.
I know, we do. My sister-in-law's from here, so I have a whole new family here, which is great.
And a new friend.
Yes, exactly. But really, it all started when I was a kid. I always knew I was different. I always knew I wanted to come here or to be a star, to leave an impact, to help people. I was so creative. Ever since I was a little girl, fashion was my thing. But the most me memory I think I could remember is just like me in my bedroom, belly down, doodling, drawing, painting, designing, writing. That was just my spirit and my energy. And I was the only creative one in my family. And throughout my childhood, I just loved people. I loved helping people. I loved being the center of attention. Like, these are all just elements of my inner child that has finally resurfaced. But essentially, in my early teens, there were kind of two paths I was walking simultaneously that eventually merged in 2020. And so one path was me with my health challenges. Ever since I was a teenager, I had a lot of gut issues, hormonal issues. When I got into college, it turned into SIBO and parasites and leaky gut and estrogen dominance and blah, blah, blah. And then when I was 25, I was finally properly diagnosed with endometriosis.
Oh my gosh.
So throughout my life, I always had these health challenges. And it was in my late college years where I discovered how Western medicine was failing me time and time again, because every doctor I would go to would say, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. And what does that do to a woman? It diminishes their intuition. And my intuition was saying there's something wrong. And that was what kickstarted my own journey towards living a more mindful life. That's when I read Eckhart Tolle for the first time, and I listened to, wellness podcasts for the first time, like The Goop and Mind Body Green. And that was my entry point. I started
Into
journaling.
a more holistic approach.
Exactly. Okay. I started journaling. I started meditating. I started eating cleaner and really just taking care of mind, body, and spirit, and not just the body.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneously, when I was in high school, I started to exercise that entrepreneurial creative itch. I had a fashion blog when I was in high school. When I was in college, I had this t-shirt brand. I majored in new media and digital design. I had internships in fashion and in media and PR and, snuck my way into Fashion Week. And I was just living like that creative passion and bringing that to life. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I forgot to mention this, is probably a huge part, but I've been writing since I was 16, writing poetry on my notes app, never shared it with anyone. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I was working in advertising, and I still do to this day, but I was at a previous agency, and I was really miserable there, and my health was getting really bad. And
your same issues with endometriosis.
I discovered endometriosis only 2 years ago. So this was before I even knew that's what it was.
So you were living with the symptoms undiagnosed.
Yes. And it was typically misdiagnosed, or they would get like the tip of the iceberg, but not the root of it. So I would take all these supplements and do all these protocols, and I would feel a little bit better, but then everything would come back.
So many women are talking about this. Olivia Culpo, who's now pregnant with her first child, said the same thing. She was misdiagnosed for many, many years and just thought, what is this? I have these painful periods and no one knows what it is.
Yeah. And it typically takes women 8 to 9 years to get properly diagnosed with endo.
Wow.
It's a silent disease and it's really hard to detect. And when you look at someone who has endo, you can never tell. First of all, women are so great at masking what they're feeling. And we have a high pain tolerance in every dimension. And we don't want to let people down. And so we put on a smile and we go to the event with pain in our bodies, and not just physical, health, like physical health related pain, but emotional pain and mental, all of it. And so it's really hard to even tell if someone is suffering through this. And Olivia Culpo was one of the first women that I knew who had it. That kind of got me interrogating myself. Like, is that what I have? So thank God that she talked about it, because that really did inspire me to dive into and talk about it, in my audience. And so 2020, my health was getting really bad. And that was when I really had this desire to go after my dreams and my creative goals. I had all this writing, and I was really nervous to ever share that. It's so vulnerable. I had a huge fear of being seen, but I decided to create an Instagram account with an alias because I was too scared to use my name. And it was purely a place where I would follow the people that I admired in the mindfulness spirituality space outside of my personal Instagram, where I see like everyone getting married and engaged and the kids and all that, to keep myself accountable. Stay inspired, be fed the content that I needed, because at that point I was kind of forgetting everything that I had learned over the years of your thoughts create your reality.
Louise Hay.
Yes. Everything about that. I was like stuck at a job that was so unhappy. I was unhappy at. And I was like, I need to hold myself accountable. And so in 2020, I launched my Instagram. It was just a mood board. And over the few months, I started to share my own writing. And then I got a comment that was like, this is beautiful. I'm like, oh, okay. Someone thinks it's beautiful. And then it was like 100 likes. And then it was like 1,000 followers. And I'm like, okay, people are liking my work. And then over the years, I built that and grew a beautiful community. And I tried a lot of things because I always knew I wanted to create a product. So I started with merch because that's the easiest thing to start with. It was also COVID. Everyone's wearing sweatpants. So like easy entry point. Only to realize after the first day of sales, oh my God, I don't want to pack orders. This does not feel aligned. But I love the idea of a physical manifestation of what was in my heart. That's all it was. Then I tried digital products. Great money, but again, something was empty there. And then I came across a bucket list that I wrote when I was 16, and one of them was to have my poems published. And I think like seeing that on my bucket list kind of like got something swirling in my mind, because then one day, a few days after that, I was meditating and I just saw a visual of me like walking into a bookstore and seeing a book with my name on it on the shelf. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I think that's
There's
it.
a story in you waiting to come through.
Exactly. And so I meditated on that for months because I was too scared to go after it. I didn't know any authors. I don't know even what a manuscript, like I didn't know anything about the industry. Just like the idea of having a book felt cool.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, one day I just felt a nudge to cold email my publisher. And I was just like, hey, my name is Karin. This is my Instagram account. I writing a manuscript. I wasn't. That was a full-on lie. But
It was
how
a
do
fake
I
it till you make it. Come on. I mean, we all do. We all do it a little.
Totally. And it was just like my way of saying yes, and God being like, okay, great, I'll begin now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the easiest thing I've ever done, because they responded a week later being like, yeah, we love your work. We've seen it. Send us a manuscript when it's ready. So I'm like, oh shit, like Google manuscript template, 'cause I didn't know what that looked like. Took 3 months to write the book. I had half of it already written on my notes app on my phone. So some of the passages from my first book are pieces I wrote when I was 16. 3 months later, they want to publish me. And then life took off from there. And then the second book really came from when I was diagnosed with endometriosis. 4 months after that, I had surgery, thinking it was the answer to all my prayers. In so many ways, it was, but not in the way that I thought. I thought I would have surgery, and 2 weeks later, I'm going to live my best, amazing life, and I could be free and eat whatever I want and have normal periods and meet the love of my life. And God was like,
his life works out exactly perfectly like that all the time.
It was quite the opposite, but it ended up being my greatest gift, because essentially what happened was I was putting so much pressure on myself to heal on my timeline that I literally I gave myself the same symptoms of the disease despite not having it anymore. And that was when I was really guided to go inwards, heal from within, really feel the trauma of the health challenges that I never allowed myself to feel, and get to the root of, why did I even have this chronic illness? And
why did you? If you can now look back and connect the dots.
I always believed I was too much growing up. And I was told to be realistic. I was such a dreamer as a kid. I was so naive. Like if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it. And this wasn't from my parents. This was really just like everything. Like even in school, like everyone would be focusing on that one thing and I would be looking over there. And I'm like, why am I looking here and everyone's on that thing? Like it was just I was so different, really. It was special.
What you were suppressing ended up manifesting into a sickness.
Exactly. And what it was a fear of being seen. That was eventually what happened. It was a fear of being seen as my authentic self. And so what did my body do all those years? It kept me safe. It protected me, because all of those years where I was really sick, I don't want to be seen, not in my messiness, not when I had cystic acne all over my face, not when I gained 30 pounds, not when I was, not confident in myself. I didn't date. I canceled plans all the time. I didn't travel. Like I didn't do all the things to show my power because of that deep-rooted belief of fear of being seen. And all those years, a lot of the work I've been doing now is self-forgiveness, because I resented my body. I resented myself. Like I always thought like I did this to myself, and I made myself sick, and I gave myself the symptoms, and how cruel.
But now you're just compounding the negative talk on top of negative talk.
Yeah.
When did you finally switch that? And what advice would you give to someone who also is afraid of being seen? Because I often hear from so many people, I want to do things. I believe I'm special. I believe I have like a gift inside me, but they are also very afraid of being seen that they don't even try.
I asked myself a question about a month and a half ago. So everything that I'm saying now has been a 2-year journey. And only now did I have that download of the I'm too much, literally 3 weeks ago. So all this is still really fresh for me. I asked myself a question though, about a month ago. And I said, Karin, where are you afraid to be seen? And I sat on that for a few days. I went on walks. I thought about it. And then it came to me. I'm afraid of looking at myself in the mirror. And physically, I wasn't feeling my best about a month ago. I gained weight and da da da. And so one day I just said, you know what? I'm going to cut the bullshit. I'm not going to do a meditation. I'm not going to talk to a person, like someone to help. It's like, I'm going to go straight to the source. So what I do, I sat in front of the mirror in my bra and underwear, and I just looked at myself for 30, I'm getting emotional talking about it, but I looked at myself for 30 minutes. Sorry, I'm getting so emotional.
It's okay.
And looked at my rolls, looked at my arms, looked at the scars on my belly. And I just said, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And I repeated that for 30 minutes. And I was bawling my eyes out because that was the moment where I realized, of course, I'm not being seen by people. Of course, I am afraid to show myself. Of course, I'm not getting the success that I know I deserve. I can't even see myself. And life is a mirror, right? And that was the ultimate mirror. And that moment where I really just looked at myself in the eyes, I saw the little girl that I had abandoned, all those years. And it was so beautiful because that really was the moment where I understood true unconditional self-love. And that was a month ago. That was this, and all the work that I've done over the years brought me to that moment, because I cannot have had that experience or answered that question 6 months ago. I wouldn't have been ready to receive the answer of, Karin, you're actually afraid to look at yourself.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to hold that, right? And so all the past few years, rewiring all the limiting beliefs of I'm not good enough, I must work hard to achieve success, all those limiting programs, beliefs, behaviors that are all I wrote all about in my second book. That was all the layers, but the root of it was the I'm too much, and the fear of being seen. And so to answer your question, I would have anyone who's listening ask, where am I afraid to be seen? Is it in front of the people that I love? Is it in the mirror? Is it, what part of myself am I afraid to show? Is it my authenticity? Or is it the parts of me that aren't even me that I think I should be showing? And I think that self-interrogation, you will unravel the answers that are within you. And that is the whole premise of the book, that the unlimited power within you, that everything you need is within you, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be remembered. And, now when I remember my inner child, I'm like, it's not remembering anymore. It's like, I am her, just wiser, older, more beautiful, many, you know what I mean? So
you are very wise and
Thank
very
you.
beautiful and so brave for not only sharing that, but also going through that. I'm older than you, and I don't think I've ever done that, and I suffered from my own insecurities and traumas and, body dysmorphia, which I still have to this day, because I don't think it
Everyone.
ever really goes away, especially when you're a woman, so to look at yourself like that and to embrace yourself, that's the only way you can expect anyone else to embrace you, but it has to start first from you. Wow, that was really powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I really want to talk about the book.
Yes.
First and foremost, the title, The Unlimited Power Within You. How did that come to you?
It was in a meditation. And a word that I love is limitless. I love that word. And I think that's how I see myself. That's how I see all of us. I think we're all unlimited, limitless beings. But over the years, the greatest tool that I brought into my life was meditation. And every morning when I meditate, I get this voice inside of my head. And it's like, do this, go here. This is what that means. Or this is what you're feeling. Or just guidance.
And you ask for the same guidance, right? From A Course in Miracles. I do the same.
Yeah.
Will you recite it?
Yes. And I actually added something new recently, which I'll share. So
it is a little different, the way you write it versus the way it's written in Course in Miracles. But I think that's honestly the best way to ask for anything in life, is simply to ask for the guidance.
And not the thing. I used to be like, God, please heal me. God, please bring me the love of my life. And now what I say is, the first thing I say is, God, what do you want to experience through me today? And then I say, show me where to go. Show me what to do, who to speak to, what to say, what to hear, and guide me on my path so that I follow your will, timing and plan versus mine. And then I ask, give me a nudge or an intuitive action that is the right next step to my destiny or to meet the love of my life or to fulfill a dream, whatever it is that I'm, is top of mind. And what that does is it opens the day to receiving way more than what you could have if you said, God, I just want this. Because now what happens is you stumble upon a coffee shop and turns out the barista has the same interests as you, or you bump into someone because you took a different path to work, or you listen to a podcast and it's the exact guidance that you needed that day, or you offer a smile to a stranger and they were having a really rough day and that smile changed you know what I mean? And so that unlimited energy is available to us at all times, but it really just starts from within us.
It does. Okay. I'm going to prompt you with a few things from your book that I've highlighted. And I
Yes.
started reading this. I haven't finished it, but I feel like with what I've highlighted, this will take a few hours. So let's get to it. All right. So this one is in the very beginning. It says, The Chosen Ones. Spiritual awakenings are often experienced out of necessity. Our souls sense that our potential transcends the limitations of our current challenges. We feel called to go deeper, inwards and within, towards a path that was predestined, waiting for us to explore it in divine timing. That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
How would you explain that to someone who doesn't quite understand that concept?
I'm sure when David Gamm came on your show, you might have, I can't remember if you guys talked about this, but he always talks about how we, all of our souls will have a spiritual awakening, multiple, for some in this lifetime. Mine was delivered through my painful health challenges. And my soul chose my body for a reason, with the exact circumstances, with the exact parents, with the exact limiting beliefs, to soul correct in this lifetime to fulfill the mission that my soul came here to do in this body at this time. Had I not gone through my physical suffering, I would not be here today, because I needed those experiences to channel this wisdom and marry that. I think wisdom is knowledge plus experience. And in order to share that wisdom, you need both, right? And so I think we all, at some point, will arrive at a place where we are at rock bottom. And when you're at rock bottom, it's actually the most remarkable place to be, although it does not feel that way.
I've been there.
Yeah. There's only one place to go, and that's up, right? When you're at the bottom, it's like you kind of you are just forced to surrender. And that's what I mean, where the path was predestined, waiting for you to explore it in divine timing. That rock bottom could not have happened at any other point in your life in that exact same way, with those same lessons and those same realizations. And it is that from that point on where you enter this new portal and you realize that that suffering in your life was not given to you as a punishment, but it was part of your soul's mission to fulfill what you came here to do.
It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
Yes, exactly.
Beauty and stillness, and I think this goes back to meditation, but you wrote here, what appeared to be as an external disruption was in fact a mere reflecting the turbulence within. The chaos was never an external force. It was a dynamic echo of your own internal landscape, a revelation that can empower you to navigate and transcend the tumult with newfound courage and grit. To think I read for a living. So explain that.
I'm sure everyone here has had relationship dynamics and problems and people who trigger us and, the thorn, right? And over the years, there have been many people in my life that are amazing human beings, that they said something or they did something that triggered me so deeply. And it's so easy to put the blame on them, being like, they're not wise, they're not awakened, they're just, they're miserable in their own lives and da 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 da. But what I learned is that, and this isn't just relationships, but this could be anything in your reality. It could be a job that you don't like, or a relationship dynamic. It could be your health, whatever it is. It's a mirror. So it's like whatever someone is triggering you or bothering you or anything you're judging someone else for, you're actually judging yourself, or that trigger is actually showing you where you are not yet expanded internally. And so the reason why I named that passage Beauty in the Stillness is that the way to unravel that thread is to get really quiet, to see that storm inside and to be like, what about that person, or what about that job? What is that reflecting inside of me? And once you realize that, even that awareness of it, you're like, oh, so wait a minute. If I change my energy, I change my reality. And that doesn't mean you're changing the person. You're not changing the job. You're not changing the external dynamic. Your energy shift will naturally shift them, or the way they're treating you, or the job, or whatever it is. That's just energy.
Okay, let's workshop this for a second.
Yes.
Because I love how you first brought up the example of relationships.
Yes.
So I do believe also everyone we meet, we call into our lives subconsciously because there's something that we need to work through. I don't know how I do this, but I call people and things into my life. It's like, I wish I knew how I did it, because then I would consciously do it, right? And I would call in like a billionaire and all these things. But what I'm actually doing is calling in lessons of unhealed parts of me that still need to heal, because right now in this moment in my life, that's what I'm focusing on, right? That's what I'm calling in. I didn't do it 10 years ago, because my life was about something else.
Right.
And so let's say someone, and I gave this advice to a girlfriend of mine, she just broke up with someone, and she said he was triggering me. And I said, what is it about you that was triggered? What is it about you that called this person into your life? You need to focus on that, not so much the person, because the person is in a way an illusion.
Yeah.
Something we created, something we're manifested, something we're projecting in order to see what's coming up for us. Again, like Kabbalah, pause with a pleasure, pause with a gift, right?
Yeah.
This is bringing up something I need to heal.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of people, when they feel those triggers, they want to just run away because they don't want to feel it. And I think if we stay in that for a little bit, that's where the lesson and the gift emerges. And I think a lot of people push that lesson away in that relationship. So what ends up happening 4 months later, you attract another man who triggers you in the same exact way. And then you're too scared to face it. So then you run away. And then 4 months later is another guy, or it might be delivered in a new boss who triggers the same points.
Yeah, and the lessons repeat until we learn it.
Until we learn them. And that's also okay, because that might be the soul's mission, right? I think every human being that we meet, even a stranger, teaches us something. So there's no shame in taking years to heal that part of you. I mean, God knows I've allowed many people in my life who I just did not learn the lesson from. And it had to happen that way. And I wouldn't change a single thing about it. But if we're able to get that awareness and just ask, okay, what are they triggered? Is it the little girl whose parents were so controlling and he's controlling me and that little girl is activated right now? Or is it, I have this dream and he doesn't, she's not believing in me, and my family didn't believe in me, and that's what they're triggering. Like, if we ask ourselves these questions, to your point, we realize it has nothing to do with them. And they are a gift to us because they are showing us where we're not yet expanded. And that awareness is the first step to break that pattern for the rest of your life. And that's the thing with inner work, right? Like, this isn't for a few months to feel happy and like,
it's lifelong.
It's a lifelong commitment and a gift that we give ourselves. This is a forever thing. So the healing work that you're doing right now, that you're choosing to do, like, you should pat yourself on the back throughout the day, because this isn't just for you right now or your kids right now. This is for you for the next, God willing, like 6, 7, 10, whatever decades. And so I really hope that people don't run away from those moments of trigger. And I can give you an example that happened, recently with my mom. God, I love her. She's the best. But I was talking to her. I'm single. And I was talking to her about, I'm single and I haven't met anyone. And I know he's coming in really soon. And I know he's going to be extraordinary and God's timing and all that kind of stuff. And my mom was like, you're just looking for Mr. Perfect. Like, you're not perfect. I'm like, I know I'm not perfect. But like, she's like, you're pushing people away because you expect this like beautiful thing and da da da. I'm like, well, yeah, I deserve that. And she's like, I know you deserve it, but I'm just worried that you're saying no to really good people because one thing is missing. And I'm like, oh, like my mom's not getting it. She's not understanding me. Like,
What do you think that says about you or how your mother is showing up as a mirror? I have a similar
Yeah.
mom. She's
Yeah.
pretty in my business all the time. And I realized the other day, she tells me all the things that I'm not willing to be honest with myself about.
Yeah.
She'll ask me questions and it drives me up the wall. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to be saying that to myself.
Yeah. I
And
know.
so that's what she's showing me.
Yeah.
And now I need to do that. I need to, stop and say, is this really, really a 10 out of 10? Or am I making excuses
Yeah.
from my mom, which in turn, I'm actually really just making excuses to myself.
Yeah, totally. But I will also say this.
Mhm.
It triggered me because the first reaction I had after I hung up on her was, oh, she doesn't get me. I'm so misunderstood. It's like, I'm too much. No one understands what's in my heart and da 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 da. And what I came to understand was it wasn't what she was saying that was triggering. It was the fact that I still had to explain my intuition
Mm.
and what I knew in my heart to be true, which was it's no one it's no one people I've met. And there is a certain person that I'm calling in. And there's a reason why I'm calling in that kind of person. And what I realized was, wait a minute, why don't I want the people that my mom is recommending? Right. Or like,
Mhm.
why haven't I met my person yet? And it was a week before that revelation I had of the I'm too much and the fear of being seen came to the surface. So my mom actually was inviting me to explore that territory a little bit more.
Mhm.
So she triggered me. It wasn't exactly what she said that triggered me, but it allowed me to interrogate myself further, which then allowed me to unravel that root thread. And now what I believe is, of course, I haven't met my person yet because I had this massive limiting belief inside of me that I was too much. So imagine I met the love of my life and I felt like I was too much for him.
Mhm.
That's not what I want to feel. Or I didn't want to show my authentic self to him. I had to heal those layers to be in the loving relationship and marriage that I know is destined for me. But I needed to do that work on myself first so that he is a mirror of that unconditional love that I feel for myself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it all comes down to, and maybe you can explain this in your interpretation, we are essentially the architects of everything in our lives.
Yeah.
So if we don't believe we deserve something, it's never going to be mirrored back to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't believe that we are a certain way, we are never going to have other people see us that way.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I'm really working on right now is seeing myself.
Mm.
Because I'll get compliments from people and I'm just like, oh no, don't say that.
Yeah.
But really inside, that's revealing something else because I'm not seeing myself for who I am.
Yes.
And until I see myself, I'm not going to demand better for myself. And it's not demand is such a hard word. I'm not going to, think I
But ask for
deserve
what
better.
you really want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask for what you want. And we don't ask for what we want because we believe it's too much.
Yeah.
That we're being too idealistic.
We're not good enough.
We're not good enough. Why me? Instagram is full of beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
Why me?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I deserve this? But we deserve it because this is our life.
Mm-hmm.
This is our story and we're writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not going to write yourself as the main character in your own movie, no one else is.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I want to move into this portion of the book where you talk about the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Universe, a lot of people think of it as God. They think of it as source. I think universe is source energy and it's God. I'm not a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. So that's how I identify with it. And here you wrote, each time I stood at life's crossroads, perplexed on which path to take, it was through an open prayer that most divine guidance was revealed to me. I ceased to request the specific outcomes, recognizing that my own definitions of what I needed often limited the breadth of what I could receive.
Mm-hmm. So for many years, my greatest prayer was, God, please heal me. That's all I wanted. I wanted good health and then my life can begin. And about a year and a half ago, I had just finished writing this book and I had healed a lot, but I was still physically not feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at another rock bottom in my health. And I prayed to God, and for me, God is, I'm Christian and that's my religion, but I agree. It's source energy, love, whatever is resonant. And I prayed to God and I said, I don't need you to heal me right now, but I need you to give me hope that one day you will.
Hmm.
And it was through that open prayer that one day when I was meditating, God gave me a vision of me winning an Oscar for a screenplay for writing the story about my life, right? And that meditation wasn't just like a cool visual of like glamorous me on the red carpet winning. It wasn't even about that. My body was shaking. I was crying. My heart was pounding. I felt as though I was in that seat walking up on the stage to win like that's what my body energetically, somatically was feeling. When I got out of the meditation, I was like, what the hell was that? Me? Like, also, I don't know if I'm going to win an Oscar. That's not about the Oscar, but me.
See, again, that's a limited belief. Stop.
Yeah, no, I'm going to win the Oscar, guys.
The Oscar.
And Shailene Woodley is going to play me in the movie. Mark my words.
I could see that.
I know.
I can so see that. And she's really cool and very spiritual too.
I know.
We should go out with her.
And she's also had like a lot of health challenges in the female reproduction. So like, yeah, we're manifesting
the
her.
three of us need to go out.
Yeah. We'll do like a 3-way podcast. And so the thought that after I got out of the meditation, I was like, what the hell was that though? Like I've never had that kind of meditation. And I do Joe Dispenza to paint a picture of how deep it goes.
Yeah.
And so I sat on that for a few days. And ironically, I was on a work trip. I work in advertising to Atlanta for a shoot for a commercial. So now I'm on the film set and there's cameras and lights and directors and producers. And I'm like, that's interesting. Then I go to a dinner with everyone. Turns out they all work in the film industry. And I'm like, okay, that's another sign. And then like clockwork every day, like I'll be walking to work and I would stumble upon a film set. Through that prayer, show me where to go. I would be like, yeah, I'm going to walk that way today instead. And then lo and behold, they're filming, Bradley Cooper's movie. Then like a month later, I get an email from my building. I live in New Jersey. They don't film things by me. They were filming for 3 weeks. The movie It Ends With Us in the building next door to mine. Weird things like this, meeting people. Synchronicities left and right. But I kept asking, show me where to go, show me what to do, who to speak to. And like I would start a conversation with someone. I started listening to podcasts about film and like immersing myself in this whole new world. And then
as if you're on the way.
Yeah.
Not that it's impossible, but as if you're on the way.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of that quote that says, when you take the step, the way I'm totally
the way appears,
right? I'm totally butchering it.
Yeah,
but you don't need to know the way to take the first step. The way appears, something like that. But it makes sense.
Yeah,
right.
And it was this adventure. Like I didn't know where I was being led to, and trust me, I was doubting myself through every step. Even when the synchronicities would happen, I would be like, "But wait, like." Are they testing me right now? Is this real? Like, where is this leading me to? Am I actually supposed to write the film, or is this just leading me to like a person I'm supposed to meet? Like, I didn't know what it was guiding me towards, but I was excited. I was like very enthralled by what the universe was leading me to, right?
And they say, when it's for you, when you are genuinely excited.
Yeah.
When it's like a hell yes. You don't have to think about it. You're not afraid of it. That's when you are being guided towards something that is really for you.
Yes. And I've loved film my entire life. And I always watch films with subtitles because I love appreciating the screenwriters and their words. And film has all of my interests, like I mentioned when I was a little girl, like designing and fashion and writing and photography and like storytelling, like everything all in one, right? So it started to make sense. And then I just started like jotting things on my notes app, like random ideas, whatever. And then one day I started writing it. And then I started writing more scenes and I got so excited. And it was also a lot of emotion was coming through for me, like scenes and moments in my life that I've never written about, that never had a home, that I finally was giving a space for, like using my voice in a completely different way. I also accessed a whole new creative part of me that I never would have seen before had I not entered this new, fictional space. I thought I was only a nonfiction writer in spirituality. And there I was writing plots and characters and plot twists and like all the stuff. And ironically, it was by finishing writing the film that led me to that. Writing it was the healing journey, right? And the whole film is what we were talking about, is it's based on a premise of it is so easy to see the beauty in someone else, but we fail to recognize it within ourselves. And what happens when you finally do see yourself the way someone else sees you. And the title of it is Walking Each Other Home. So just imagine like everything that I've learned and written about and experienced all coming together. But going back to that passage, had God healed me after my surgery, this book wouldn't have existed. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have written a film that I know is going to transform millions of people's, like truly, truly millions of people's lives when it's made. So when I say, you know, things happen in divine timing, that's what I mean. And if God answered those prayers, I wouldn't have received this much magic, you know?
Your pain was your purpose.
Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, there are things in our lives that are the catalyst to our biggest breakthroughs. You know, as the title of the show is Breaking Through.
Yes.
Because there's always that moment that your soul is just waiting to come through. There's a story from within that's waiting to come through, a job change, a change in life. It's just, it's there. And it is through divine timing. It's like your soul knows, okay, we waited long enough. It's time.
And your soul knows.
Oh, it absolutely knows.
Yeah.
Our souls have traveled, and I believe this to be true. Our souls have traveled many lifetimes, and it knows. Our soul is so smart. It will guide us if we learn to listen.
And our bodies. I think the hardest part really is the mind. I mean, our mind is brilliant, but I think a lot, it's the thoughts in our heads that prevent us from doing things or exploring things or hold us back. Our bodies know instantaneously, you know, when something stressful happens, you get a rash, you get a pimple, you know, your body sends you signals all the time. Many of us don't listen. Our soul is guiding us at every moment, but our minds trick us out of it, because the screenplay thing, right? If my mind had more power than my heart, if I let it have more power, I wouldn't have even explored the thing. I would have thought I was not good enough. I wasn't capable. I wasn't creative. Who am I? But I listened to that heart. And that's why every morning when I would return to that meditation, I would visualize the same thing to remember that feeling, remember what I'm working towards. And so I think if we're able to find that balance of mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul, that's where we live in wholeness and abundance.
It's very connected. I remember I was married for a long time, for 16 years, and I couldn't find the guts to leave. And it wasn't until I started hiking that physically, it's like, it almost was like this mirroring experience, right? Physically, I got stronger. My legs got stronger to carry me out the door. And the final stop was I broke my ankle right before I got a divorce. I broke my ankle because I was trying to prevent a moth from flying into my house. Who does that? Why? Why would you do that? It's a moth. It's going to fly into the house. I have 18-foot ceilings. I'm not going to stop it. But that was my state of being. I thought I had to do everything and I had to be everything for everyone until finally my body spoke to me and said, no, you're strong. But if you're not going to walk out the door, I'm going to keep you stuck here forever.
How beautiful that you recognize that, though. Like, you should be
It takes stillness.
Yeah.
It takes stillness, looking back, speaking with like-minded people, and really just taking this moment as an invitation to go inward. This has been the greatest gift for me in the last 2 years, going through what I've gone through, because it allowed me to really get to know myself all over again, to bring that little girl back, to heal her, to give her the confidence she never had, to give her the love she never had. Now it's like, you can go out into the world and do whatever you want because I've got you. And I never had that before. So
when did you start the show?
Last year, about
6. So it came after.
It came after.
Yeah, there you go.
After my divorce, I took about a year to just be alone.
Yeah.
And then I started the show. So this is like 6 months in.
Yeah. And this is, you're breaking through, but you're also helping me break through, like giving the guests a platform to share their story in a completely different way.
Absolutely. Everyone I have on are people who have touched me in some way, because otherwise the conversations are not real. And that's what I want it to be. Okay. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is surrender. What is surrender? And I'm going to read this little passage here and then you can get into it. It says, surrendering is not a mere absence of fear. It's a raw, heart-wrenching embrace of uncertainty, a courageous stance that clings to the enduring belief of the benevolent flow of life.
I used to think that I was fearless.
Mhm.
And that was kind of what I was trying to get to for the past 2 years. Like, I want to return back to my fearlessness that I had as a kid. And what I discovered is that I'm actually not fearless. I have a lot of fear, and I will always have fears anytime I do something that's out of my comfort zone. That's
Mhm.
so normal. But I am brave. And I think when it comes to surrendering, that's when you let go of the rope and you just say, I'm not going to do this alone. I can't do it alone. And the moment you let go and you just put faith in a higher power and in yourself, that is where your bravery shines,
Mhm.
where the fear is still there, but you're able to, you allow yourself to flow towards wherever you want to go versus forcing yourself through that. And I think a lot of my life, and surrender to me is a huge theme too, because when it came to my health, I had to surrender. Like, it was the rock bottom I came to it was life or death, like genuinely life or death. I mean, I wanted to give up. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't live that way. And it got to the point where I was like, God, you take over. Like, I can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
And I was so terrified. I was so scared. What does that mean? God, you take over. That could mean a lot of things. There's a lot of uncertainty. Whereas when I'm holding on, I can control what I feel and where I go and what I do every day. But that wasn't serving me either. And so when you surrender, you let go of everything you think you need. You let go of everything you believe your life should look like. You let go of every story you've told yourself, every thought you've had about every belief you've ever had. And you're like, clean slate, let's start. Like, I'm letting go. And the moment you let go, your heart opens up and you have a little bit more space in your
Mhm.
heart. And then that's where the light comes in. That's where the love comes in. And that might not heal all of your wounds instantaneously, but that's the starting point for your life to change. And I think anyone could agree with this, where
Mhm.
the moment you let go, things come in. The moment you stop forcing, you start flowing. And we've all experienced this. But I will say surrender is not, okay, I surrendered. Life is great now. It's like,
Right.
it's literally like daily practice, multiple times a day, catching yourself when you're like forcing something, be like, no, I'm going to let go.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I
Yeah.
think for a lot of people, they might be listening and saying, I've surrendered, but bad things keep happening to me. It's because you're expecting bad things to happen.
Yeah.
But if you surrender and say, God, I trust you and
Mhm.
you're going to have my back, I'm going to have my back. I'm going to do the work that's necessary
Mhm.
because things don't happen to people who are not actively, pursuing their dreams. You have to do the work. You have to then surrender the outcome and
Mhm.
believe that you are divinely guided,
Mhm.
believe that you are protected. I've experienced these miracles, and I just experienced one, recently where
Oh.
even with this show, I wasn't sure if it was going to take off, it was going to go anywhere. And I think in the moment where I was like, I'm just not giving up. I'm just not going to give up. The greatest miracle happened
Oh
where
my
someone
God.
came in and was like, I believe in your show. I'm investing.
Oh my
And it
God.
was like, wow, that's
That's
incredible. I never
amazing.
anticipated that. I thought I would have to consistently struggle to figure it out, to figure it out, to figure it out. But it's when you do the work, you surrender the outcome, and the outcome ended up being 10 times better than
Mhm.
what I thought it ever could be.
Mhm.
But it's putting yourself out there in
Yeah.
that brave way
And
without
it's
the
putting out the
expectation.
intention, right? Like,
Intention without expectation.
yes, it's like, I want to do this for this authentic reason. I don't care how it manifests.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, God always delivers 100 times better than what we can currently imagine.
Mhm.
Everything in my life. I mean, I wanted to write a book once. Like, I wanted it to be something I did. That was it. Like, check that off the childhood dream box.
Right.
And here I am. God was like, no, honey, we're doing 2
You've got a lot
books
more
and we have
potential.
more books coming.
Yeah.
And so the moment you let go of what you think you want or what you think you need, that's where abundance flows in. And it is always, always better, because I think a lot of us, and Kabbalah talks about this too. Like, David Geim always talks about this, how the universe wants to give you so much and it's there, it's
Mhm.
available. You just need to expand your vessel to receive the abundance. And abundance doesn't just mean financially or monetarily or anything. It's just abundance in love and joy and peace.
You'll know when you're happy.
Yeah.
You'll know when you're at peace. And I think it's a
Yeah.
matter of prioritizing what's really important for you.
Yeah.
You wrote something really beautiful here that I want to read. It says, even if I can't discern the way, I choose to still believe that something better awaits. I release the grip on my perceived needs and desires, allowing the universe to usher in what is meant for me, unveiling its divine plan at its own perfect time. I mean, you already explained this. I
Mhm.
just really wanted to read it
Yeah.
out loud for people because I know people are going to go buy your book. I want to talk about source. When you say, whose voice is this? How do you know when that voice is intuition? How do you know if that voice is delusion? How do you know if it's someone else's voice? You know, like let's say your mom's voice. How do you
Mhm.
know that voice?
It's a great question. I want to first say I don't believe in delusion.
Okay.
I think whatever you think is delusional is actually part of your intuition speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think intuition is delivered differently for everyone. Some people get a gut feeling, some people feel it in their hearts. I think it's a feeling, first and foremost. It's quick and it's passing and you can't explain it. That's how it has been for me. So when I hear a voice, go here, or like Google this, or reach out to this person, I'm like, what? Why? That's so random. But
They're
I
going
do
to
it
say
anyways.
no.
I do it. I
I'll
don't
do it
question it.
later.
I'll do it. Yeah. I don't question it. And every time I follow it, oh, it's exactly what I needed, or it's exactly where I needed to be led, or whatever. It always works out.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to ensuring you're not taking in other people's voices, I think we all need to be really aware of what our own energy feels like outside of when we're with other people or receiving other people's
Mm-hmm.
energy, because only then can you easily discern what is true and what isn't. So, what I mean by that is, I think a lot of people don't spend a lot of time alone to get to know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, how could you ever know what your voice is if you don't know who you
You
are?
have to seek it out.
You have to seek it out, and you need to, and it doesn't mean you have to spend an hour in a meditation. It's like, go on a walk and don't even listen to any music. Don't bring your AirPods, don't bring your phone. Just like, what is that voice inside of your head even saying
Mm-hmm.
when you're alone? And then you're able to pinpoint, oh, that's actually my mom, or that's actually my partner,
Mm-hmm.
or that's my publisher speaking right now. And I had this really big revelation about a month ago where it was really hard for me to discern, like, whose voice am I operating from? Is it mine? Is it God's? Is it my publisher's? Is it my social feed? Is it my parents? And I was at a point where I'm trying to figure out, like, what do I want to share on social media? How do I want to use social media? Because part of me feels so icky with it sometimes, and I'm sure everyone does these
Mm-hmm.
days. And so I prayed and I said, God, give me the gift of discernment of, like, whose voice is whose. And I realized that anytime I tell myself I should be doing something or I could be doing something, that is not my intuition speaking.
Mm-hmm.
My intuition doesn't need to force anything. It flows.
It's just there.
It's just there.
It's like a wise person inside.
Yeah.
Waiting for you to listen to it.
And something that I started to do, and I think this is a really great little trick that you can do throughout your day, wherever you are. Anytime something is happening, I'll pause, I'll take a breath, and I'll ask myself, what is the truth? And I just let an answer come. And it's usually the first thing that comes. And it's like, Karin, you're overthinking. Karin, this doesn't matter. Karin, yeah, you should do this, or whatever it is.
Right.
And asking myself, what is the truth, allows me to hear a higher voice, which is a blend, I feel like, of mine and God's voice inside of me.
This is like working a muscle. That's how I look at it. If you're not good at listening to yourself, if you're not good at meditation, you're not good at any of these things, you have to start, and you have to, because once I think you get the feeling of it, right? It's like once you start working out, you feel your muscles, you're like, oh, this feels great. I want to keep going to the gym. It's the same with honing in on our intuition and our inner voice. Is like, once you tap into it, and there are different ways of getting there for everyone. Some people get there with working out or meditation, or, for me,
Running.
traveling alone. It's like the
Totally.
best. I love it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm not alone the whole time. I have friends.
Yeah.
But just a loner, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like I want to go to Bali.
Honestly,
Bali
I love my
alone.
alone times. Same. We should go together.
We'll go together. We won't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Genius. Maybe we'll bump into Shailene Woodley.
Oh my God, stop. We'll tell her to come too.
Right. We digress. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that once you tap into it, it's addictive because you're like, this is how the world works. And it's not how the world works. It's really how you work.
It's your
and
energy.
The world works based on how you work.
Yes.
Which brings me to my next passage here. It says the home inside. First we think, then we feel a feeling that reinforces that thought. And this reminds me of something I just heard today. It said, we are all just a bubble of thoughts creating our experience.
Yeah. And I think what happens is a lot of people believe everything that they think. And so they start feeling angry or resentful or lonely or sad or whatever because they had a thought that was likely a recycled thought from the day before or your entire life, right? There's like a stat and it's like 90% of our thoughts are the same ones as yesterday or something.
Repeated thoughts.
Might have butchered that stat, but it's a lot basically. And I think we get so attached to that thought that we make it our identity. For so long in my life, I struggled with loneliness. I've been single my entire life. And often in my early mid-20s, I'm 28 now. I sound like I'm like 45 when I say my 20s. Sorry.
You are so much younger than me. It's not even funny.
Well, you look stunning. You are stunning, not look.
Thank you. Likewise.
And what, I remember like when I was like 22 or 25, like I would be at a dinner table, right, with all these couples and I would be like, oh, I feel lonely right now. Or I would like, I'm the lonely one. I'm the single one. Because you're telling
yourself you're lonely.
And then what would happen is, oh my God, I'm the lonely one. Wait, I feel sad. I'm lonely. Then I would go home and I would cry. And then I would like be my energy for 3 weeks just because I had a thought of I'm the single one. Now, if I'm at a dinner table, I'm like, yeah, I am the single one. All right, I'm the fun one. Like, let me have fun. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. And I don't attach myself to that. And so it's funny because it's the same thought. The thought doesn't
assigned a different meaning.
Exactly. So when I say I'm the single one, it's like, I'm free right now.
I always say we are not our thoughts.
Yeah.
Never trust your thoughts when your mind is turbulent. For me, if I'm tired, get out of here.
Yeah.
I will think the worst things on the planet.
It's when I'm on my period? Are you kidding me?
Right. So we all have our things, right? For me, because I wake up so early from work, if I'm exhausted, I'm like a whole other person. But it's when I can recharge, spend a few days by myself at home. I do my hike, I do my meditation. Then I'm like, okay, here she is. Here's that level-headed, normal, balanced human being we like.
Yeah.
And really it's about getting yourself back to your center. And, we are not our thoughts, we're our consciousness.
Yes.
How do you explain consciousness?
The way that I see it is, it's like, imagine you're just sitting behind all of these chairs and all of those chairs are like different types of thoughts, like the sad ones, the lonely ones, the angry ones, the low self-worth, like whatever it is. And consciousness is the seat behind that observes all of them. That's how I visualize it in my mind.
Great example.
Because it's like, I'm the observer of all of those thoughts. And like, this is so silly, but this might help someone. So I'm going to share it. I don't know if you've ever gotten into IFS therapy, internal family systems, but it's based.
Oh yes, Gabby Bernstein.
Yes, she talks a lot about it. I think her latest book is about that. We all have all these different parts. Yes, different parts. The angry part, the sad part, the loneliness part, whatever. You are not those parts. They are part of you. And something that I started to do at the end of the night when my head hits the pillow, I just imagine myself in a hallway. And when I say myself, it's my consciousness, my loving consciousness. And I see all these doors and it's like joy. It's like inside out, honestly. It's like joy, anger, loneliness, sadness, whatever, all the other emotions. And I like walk through the hallway and above each door, there's like a light that's either turned on or off. And depending on the day that I had, I'll walk down the hallway and I'll be like, oh, joy is turned off right now. Or like sadness is turned on. Let me see what's going on in sadness today. And I'll like sit on the bed with like the sad version of me. And I'll just talk to be like, what are you feeling? What's bothering you? Is it what so-and-so said? Don't worry. Remember the last time someone said that? Remember how it didn't, like I literally
It's like
reparent myself.
parenting yourself.
And then I walk out of the door and then like the light turns off. And then I do that with each part. And sometimes it's like when I can't go to sleep and I'm like so excited about something, I'll be like, Joy, I know you're so excited right now. And it's like the little me, right? The little Karin.
So excited for Disneyland.
So excited. Like you're going to LA, yay, but like we got to go to bed. Like so silly. But I promise you start to detach yourself from that identity of I am the sad one. I am the angry one. And that's just a little mental exercise you could do in your head. And so the way I see it is the consciousness is the observer and that consciousness is just love.
That's the best way to explain it, honestly.
Oh,
That's probably the best way I've ever heard it explained.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
I have the biggest girl crush on you. You know that already.
Likewise.
The only way to experience freedom is to be aware of what part of yourself you're trying to be freed from.
That line, I wrote that.
You wrote that, and it's really good. I actually wrote down my thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was prompted to write about it. So I'll share mine. I'll share mine actually, since I was so inspired by it. So I'm single now for the first time since I was 21 years old. I'm 39. It's been a minute.
Oh my God.
Well, 2 years since I've been divorced. And a big part of me, it's like loving this freedom, just being on my own and, doing life as I want because I'm learning so much about myself. I'm creating different things because I'm just in this space, right? For the first time, think about it, for the first time in such a long time.
Yeah.
And I find that is conflicting with my other desire, which is, of course, I want love. I'm a total romantic. I would love to get married again and to do it differently and to embrace all those things and to see life through someone else as well, and to create a life together. But it's like, goes to this thing. It's like that thing that I want, but yet what I feel free in, they don't intersect quite yet.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I think I had the same exact conflicting beliefs, I guess you would call it, because I'm a Sagittarius and I love my freedom. I love my independence and I have been. I've never been in a relationship and I've had the freedom to choose everything in my life, like in my adult life, let's say. I get to choose where I go, how I spend my money, who I spend my time with, what I do every second of the day. I don't have to compromise. I don't need to, spend my Saturdays at my partner's, aunt's cousin's birthday. Like I get to do what I want to do. And I love that. And for so long at the same time, I'm like, I'm ready for love. I'm ready for love. I want love. And I keep mentioning David Guillaume because he just expands me so much. But he says like, there's a part of you that doesn't want what you're actually calling in.
Yeah.
And I think when he told me that, it really freed me from like letting go of what's the word? Not like resenting myself for having conflicting thoughts, but just accepting like it's okay that I actually love my independence right now because I have my entire lifetime ahead of me. And with the type of love I'm calling in, I want it to be for a lifetime, And what I will say now is I'm still single and I haven't met my person, but it makes more sense to me why that desire of my freedom and that independence was stronger than the desire for like dismissing that and just chasing love, because I needed to really know myself fully before I let someone else have access to me. And I think that's part of that journey.
Yeah.
And I'm still and we're going to learn all the time, right? And I know that when I do meet my person and when you meet the love of your life, it's like, that's going to be a whole other mirror. That's going to be more healing and more and all the things. And so, I'm not saying I have to be perfect when I meet my person, but I think there's a level that my soul knows needs to experience first. And then all those things will come in.
I think there are certain creative endeavors, and I think the same with you, that have to come through me first for me to calm down. And then I will invite it in. Because now my mind is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's on something else.
And you might not have space to like really give love the way that you want to give love. Because right now you need that time and energy for yourself, Yeah.
For myself, for my boys, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And again, your soul knows what it needs. But when we force it, that's when we're sabotaging. Right now, if
Yeah.
I start getting in the headspace of, I'm 39, when am I going to meet the next one? I'll be 40
Yeah.
soon, da 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 da
Yeah.
da da, and all the bullshit. Then I'm going to, end up liking someone I shouldn't really be liking,
Right.
sabotaging myself,
And needing to learn another lesson that you
another
don't need
lesson.
to.
Exactly. Instead, it's like lean into what feels right now.
Yeah.
Just do you.
Yeah. And that's the energy you're going to attract the right person.
I think so. I think it's the surrender is such a big thing. I really want to talk about the glitch phase and what you interpret as the glitch phase.
To me, that's when parts of your life are turning out exactly as you visioned and you've manifested. And then there's certain parts that just like aren't really working yet. And you're kind of just glitching in your own life. Like it's like the TV screen like just starts like shaking a little bit and it's like frozen. But like part of the picture is there and it's right. But then part of it's like pixelated, you know? And I think that's a really cool place to be in because to me, I take it as proof of I'm on the right path. And that if certain areas of my life are like spanning out or panning out as I hoped, then I have faith that all the other parts of my life will as well. It is just a bit uncomfortable because often in that space, you're like, well, if I'm able to create that reality for that part of my life, like why hasn't the other thing happened yet? Or like, what's wrong with me that I can manifest a great career, but I can't manifest love? But I think that glitch phase is really, really, really important because it really just allows you to stop and smell the roses. And that's something that I'm really conscious of now is I expand very quickly. I learn lessons very quickly. I grow really quickly. And I actually love the days where nothing really happens and I just get to be. I get to be this version of myself. I don't need to force anything else. And I just simmer in where I've arrived, all that I've accomplished. And that to me is so big because for most of my life, I would accomplish something and I'm like, okay, what's next? Next thing. And I never got to enjoy the things that I did.
I lived that way for 16 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. One
And
accomplishment after another. And I'm like,
you feel empty.
what's this?
Yeah.
Is this my life?
Yeah. And you start to think like, okay, well, I also have really, really big dreams. Like when I win the Oscar, am I going to feel, I don't want to feel empty when that happens. I want to be able to stop and smell those roses. And so this to me is the glitch phase is really important to just take a step back, be really, really grateful for where you've arrived, what you have in your life. And then also just trust that everything else will also work out in the same manner as the things that you have brought into your life.
I mean, there's so much in this book, honestly. Like I haven't even, I'm on page
There's
39.
one passage, I don't know what.
And there's so much here. What else can people take away from this book? What are some of the main lessons that you want people to learn?
I want people to really remember their own essence. I'm very vulnerable in this book. I talk about the darkest days, the happiest days, the peaks, the valleys. And this is my story. This is my journey. But where I've arrived is a true remembrance of my wholeness and my authenticity. And if I can do that, so can you, so can anyone else listening. I'm not special in that. I'm not different. I'm different, air quote, but I'm not different in what's possible for us as human beings. So I think in its totality, my main mission with this book, and I really do pray it gets into the right hands, is for the people who have yet to believe in themselves. I really hope that these words are that catalyst and to keep coming back to it because this isn't a book you read once and you put it on your bookshelf. This is a book that you reread again and again every day. And anytime you need a reminder, you pick it up and you read another passage, but it's about surrender. It's about faith. It's about resilience. It's about overcoming life's greatest challenges. It's about believing and trusting in your dreams. It's about also self-forgiveness, like that, like allowing myself to feel angry, allowing myself to feel everything that I never let myself feel all those years and forgiving myself for not knowing any better. So it's really just a source of truth of the way God sees all of us, that we are unlimited beings, that we came here to live an abundantly beautiful, joyful, peaceful life. And so if you need that extra push to get going on your own soul's mission, I hope this book finds you, and to just trust that like you are exactly where you need to be. And if you're listening to this, you should be so proud of yourself if you've been engaging with, this podcast. And now I'm just like, I hate selling things. I'm like so bad at it, but go buy the book.
You don't have to sell it because the book sells itself.
Thank you.
No, I mean, honestly, it's like, it's written in such a way that's easy to follow.
Great.
And it takes you through understanding in a very basic way of spirituality and this journey of going inward.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important when you want to reach enlightenment, when you want to reach happiness and peace and understand like all these little things that are being thrown around, right? We see it on social media, your highest timeline. What does that mean? A highest timeline means things you've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Because Kabbalah also teaches anything that you envision for yourself already exists.
Yes.
Somewhere in the future. But it's up to us to read the signs, to be present, to go inward and understand what is it about me? Because it's no one else. What is it about me that's blocking me from getting to that point? Because it's there. It's already all there. And then it's like one foot in front of the other, being aware, being awake, being alive, living your life, being present, all these things.
Yeah.
And it kind of just brings you to certain magic moments where you look back and you're like, now I get it.
Yeah. You actually just brought up a really good point that I just want to quickly touch on. When you said, we see all over social media, highest timeline and da. When I wrote this book, it wasn't after my healing journey, right? I'm telling you now, I told the show, like I'm still on it, right? This is a book I wrote while I was in the rock bottom. I was channeling something much bigger than myself. And I would pray before I write, like, God, please speak through me. And that's really what this book is. It's channeling. And so the way that I wrote it was truly to fulfill a need that I had, which was, I read all these books like Joe Dispenza and Eckhart Tolle and, all these amazing, amazing spiritual gurus, but they would share the wisdom, but not explain how they arrived there. And that would always frustrate me because I'm like, yes, we do create our reality, but like, how did you
apply it to practical life?
Yeah. Like, what led you to get that realization? And so the way that I wrote the book was there's 5 chapters and it's that spiritual awakening journey. And so the first chapter is awakening the self, that awareness. The second one is understanding the self, like really taking a good look at yourself and like, why are you the way that you are? And where did it start from? And like, what was your childhood trauma and all that kind of stuff. The third is honoring yourself. And that's where the self-forgiveness really comes in. The fourth is freeing the self. And that is where you start to like rewire those beliefs and then shift the stories and create a new identity or whatnot. And then the fifth chapter is becoming the self. And that is how I see that spiritual awakening journey. And you cannot become without the awareness. You can't become without the understanding, the honoring, and the freeing. And so it starts with the awareness, but when you go on that journey, and the way that I wrote it is, even in the last chapter, you will read passages of me being like, well, I didn't learn the lesson that I was supposed to learn in chapter 1. So here we are. Yeah. So I'm very honest in that. And I think that's part of my mission too, is like really, I love spirituality, but sometimes it could be really up here and so esoteric. And I feel like my mission is also to just bring the humanity into it. And I really hope that that's what comes through. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh, it's perfect. Where can people find you and where can people find the book?
Tink you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I hope to have you on again.
Thank you. Oh my God, yes. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be bi-coastal. You, me, Shailene.
We're so doing this.
No, we are. My Instagram is @ECNU. And you could buy both of my books linked in my bio, but they're also available on Amazon. The Unlimited Power Within You and Beauty in the Stillness. So
we're going to link everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Karin, for being here. I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Breaking Through with Alina Obervian. For our community to grow, please like and share, and also leave a review on this episode. Of course, you can find me on social media and let me know what you'd like to talk about in future episodes. Nothing is off limits, so let's have some fun.